Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Francesca with the New Media Retailer podcast. I'm super excited to be joined today by James Klingenberg from True Value, Holland, Michigan. James, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no, we're super excited. Kick it off. Let's tell us a little bit about yourself, about how long you've been involved with the company and your role there.
I've been here actually for 24 years, and that'll be 24 years this June.
Oh my
So,
gosh,
yes,
congratulations. That's a
yeah,
long
I
time.
guess you could say that.
Congratulations, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I started right after basically full-time after high school. Got a little college in, probably not enough, but enough to make me comfortable for what I needed to do, and just kind of stuck with this business, which is nice. So it's a family business, so we're all treated like family, which is something that keeps people around for 24 years. So
Absolutely. It does. It does. And just like you're not involved with the family, you're not a part of the family, but you've been a part of their family business for that long.
absolutely, yep,
That's
totally.
so cool. Oh, I love that. My parents own a small pizzeria restaurant. We have an employee that's been with us for 32 years. And same, he's not a member of our family, but like we feel like he is family. So I love that. That's super cool.
Exactly. And then just doing a little research for this podcast, then you kind of get down to certain dates when the family opened the business, and they opened
Yeah.
the business October 1982. So this October will actually mark the 40-year anniversary of the
Oh,
business here in
that's
Holland,
so
Michigan.
cool. Oh,
So
that's awesome. Congratulations to everyone. Oh, that is such a milestone, especially in today's world. That's amazing. Almost 40 years.
yes.
Wow. That is amazing. Tell us a little bit about like the business itself. Like draw the picture of what you guys do, what services you offer, and then a little bit about like the location as well.
Sure, absolutely. I'll start with the location. So we are located on the west side of Michigan, which I know that's broad, but that's like break it down a little further. We are just basically straight west of Grand Rapids,
Hmm.
and we're surrounded. We're right kind of like on Lake Macatawa. Our actual business location is probably about 4 miles off Lake Michigan, so we're kind of considered kind of somewhat of a lake town. Um, Downtown downtown Holland is a nice, beautiful area. We have a big thing that's called Tulip Time that starts the first week in May,
Hmm.
brings in a lot of tourists. And, thankfully, they actually pulled that off this year in 2022 after a 2-year kind of hiatus due to the pandemic.
Yeah.
And there were over 500,000 visitors to
Oh
Holland.
my
And that's
God.
substantial. I mean, the traffic was terrible, but just to kind of get back to what was normal as
Yeah.
far as our location here in Holland, it was really, really nice to see, a blessing
Yeah.
basically. So
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's so nice to see things starting to come back to normal a little bit and how much I feel like communities are kind of rallying around events that hadn't
yes,
happened.
exactly.
Yeah,
Keeping
that's
it
so cool.
local, supporting local, that type of thing. But here at Taylor True Value Rental, this location here, we're kind of still unique in the fact that we still rent um, homeowner equipment. So we're
Mhm.
equipment and party. So we do offer a great line of homeowner equipment and then also contractor equipment as well. So bigger, skid steers, loaders, and again, then a full line of party as well.
Okay.
Um,
And by party, that's like graduation party, wedding, I assume falls in there as well.
yep, exactly. You just do the tents, tables, chairs, inflatables, china. You know, we have a very broad spectrum.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about how things are going in 2022. I mean, obviously, like we just talked about, events maybe haven't been happening, as regularly. But some people have still been doing them. So how is that? How are things going for you guys so far this year or last year as well?
Um, we are thankful for what we have, and that being said, we've we've had substantial growth since
Wow.
2019. Um,
Wow.
Bringing it back March 2020, kind of like I talked about Tulip Time, we were kind of sitting here with it kicking off pandemic,
Mhm.
and once we got the call from Tulip Time, who I just mentioned, they're a really good customer in May. They have a lot of events. They canceled every single event they had. All of our St. Patrick's Day events, were local bars and restaurants and celebrations downtown. Everything got canceled. So March 2020, we're just like, wow, this is
What are we
just
gonna
got
do?
really real. Yep.
Totally.
Um, but we just kind of started to brainstorm. Tice, the owner, didn't stand pat. He was still pretty aggressive in purchasing equipment.
Okay.
Uh, that's the general idea is a lot of people kind of sat on their hands and didn't do a lot, try to wait it out. And we kind of took more of an aggressive, positive approach to it, to always stay positive. Let's go. Let's keep going. So we pulled the trigger on equipment where we couldn't have the inside, the large conference areas and venues. They couldn't have anybody inside. So they reached out and said, what kind of tents do you have? How big of tents do you have? Can you get us some solutions?
Yeah.
And with that, we really kind of thought about what was going to be a good long-term solution for the customer, but it had to make sense for us because tents aren't cheap, in events, tents sitting outside for a long period of time, there's a lot of risk. We figured out a good thing that was fair on both sides, and that really, really helped us.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, did you see growth in like one area, like contractor equipment rentals versus party, or was it kind of growth across the board there?
The first year, so 2019 into 2020, it was a little bit more towards the tent, solving customer solutions for outdoor events, basically. But that being said, then, everybody was home.
Right.
They got projects to do. And
let's try to DIY.
Exactly. And then, so then again, then that started to trickle in and people kind of, were like, wow, the right tool for the job makes all the difference for my backyard patio. The right tool for the job, works great for trying to put a sprinkling project in for a homeowner. So that kind of took off as well.
Yeah, it's been the sit at home it definitely paid. I mean, we obviously work in all different industries. People like getting chicks for the first time was really, really big. Like, I feel like people were just scrolling on their phones and we're like, what can I try next?
Exactly.
Okay, I'll put in a sprinkler system. And then next weekend we'll get chicks and we'll just figure it out after.
Yeah, eggs for like years.
Yeah. I know. That's so awesome though. That's so awesome.
Or the tools you need to build that chicken coop,
The chicken coop. Yes, exactly. Exactly. You guys have it all.
We have it. That's where we're kind of unique, I would say, is a lot of people in the business is either you're kind of all in on equipment or you're all kind of in on party in the rental aspect, True Value or Taylor True Value. And we're kind of a 50-50 blend. And then we also are a Husqvarna dealership as well. So we just try to keep going and make it a little insane for everybody, but a little bit of everything's not bad.
And Husqvarna, that's more a retail side, right? You're not renting the Husqvarna equipment for the most part?
You are correct. Yes. So that is all retail, selling lawnmowers, snow blowers, chainsaws, that type of thing.
And do you service them there as well?
Yes. Yep. We are sales, service parts. We're like the warranty service department for all Husqvarna in West Michigan.
Gotcha. I'll have to get my husband on a flight to fix. We got a leaf blower and my husband, he put gas in the oil part or what he mixed something that was not, it doesn't work anymore. So his Father's Day present from last year is now just sitting there. So we can use all the help we could get.
It just takes one little thing.
Yep. And I got him like the like the Ghostbusters like backpack style.
That's a heavy duty one.
Yeah, I thought he would be like so professional out there. It backfired. That was not successful. That was not a successful mission. The pandemic was not as nice to our projects as they were to others. But what are you guys doing now that's kind of working for you guys, that's continuing to sustain that growth or demand in your area?
It's kind of just steady. And I think that when you help customers out in a pandemic, and we saw this a lot with our outdoor weddings. You've got 200 people or however many they were allowed to at some point, maybe a little bigger. And then you we'd get feedback from those customers for like, we never thought about how nice it would be to have an outdoor event. We were always like, we got to be inside. What's in case of rain? And even if it did rain, the customer would be like, this was so nice to have maybe have a smaller gathering to enjoy it with people that we really kind of wanted to spend that time with,
Yeah.
instead of having 300 people at the event and, see people that you haven't seen in 20 years, which is always nice to do, but you really couldn't do that during that time period. And through that, then we see more people wanting to have outdoor events because they're like, oh, well, it was so great at the Smith's reception. Let's
Right.
have our own and let's call Taylor Rental.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Now, to what degree did you guys have to, I guess, stay like up to speed on regulations as they were changing for like events? Was that something like you guys kind of had to play a hand in, or you were just kind of accommodating rentals as they were coming in?
We had to stick within the guidelines of the chairs. We couldn't have, what
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
people would try to swing in a certain amount of chairs. And we said, well, you really can't. And they typically would come back and be like, well, some are for the reception and then some are for the ceremony, that type of thing.
Got it. Got it. Got it.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, that
and,
makes sense.
through that too, contactless service here was something that we had to ramp up, where we'd email the customer the contract, they would sign for it electronically, they would call us, and this is for customer pickup like equipment. They would pull around back, give us a call, let us know vehicle in. We would give them general instruction, load it, wipe it down, and off they'd go, which was something so crazy. Like we could ever think about doing that.
I know. I know. There's so many instances of that where it's like it's so mind blowing, so crazy. But staying up with like the regulations in
Yes.
and of itself is almost a full-time job. Not anymore. I mean, now, things have definitely calmed and are starting to return
Yeah.
to
So we
normal.
can have a Zoom meeting and not have masks on. How awesome is that?
Yeah, exactly. My, how things have changed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even like us, trying to like help facilitate things. I mean, things were changing so often and in so many different states all at once. It was crazy to try to even understand or be able to follow. So having that on such like a direct scale, working with brides who I'm sure, were very stressed going
Exactly.
through this process and all of that. I can't imagine how
They
much
like
extra
tangible things. They like to feel, the linens,
yeah.
the runners, that type of thing.
Yeah. Well, we don't know any different, right? I mean, that's kind of the world that COVID introduced us to is like everyone has been doing things for a certain way for so long. That's the only way how to plan a wedding. It's like, yeah, let me see the plate. Let me see the charger. Let me
Yep.
look at the linens. And then COVID was like, nope, you're gonna do it online. Good luck.
Yes. Which, but kind of streamlined it too.
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, that they saw what they wanted and they knew what they wanted, and it didn't
Yep.
add more options to,
Yeah.
it's stressful for, families. It is a stressful time. And that's why we try to step in and make it as seamless as possible. See if we can take something off that to make sure the family has a great event and a good time together.
Yeah, absolutely. Segueing a little bit, but something you had mentioned was like feedback that you were getting from people like, maybe I never considered having an event, but you guys made it so, or having a tent event, but you guys made it so easy for me. I want to talk a little bit about customer feedback. Obviously, you do have a Google review widget, installed right on the homepage of your website. Talk to me a little bit about that becoming a digital factor in what you guys are doing now to be successful, getting that feedback from customers and kind of making sure it's getting put in the right place, whether it be Google reviews or Facebook pictures, anything like that.
In the era we live in now, 2022, Google reviews are essential. They're like Facebook reviews, they're essential. It's like the golden egg. I mean, years ago, a good handshake and a very thankful, thank you so much. We really respect what you do at your business. Thank you for helping with this project. That was great.
Yep.
Now we unfortunately follow that up. Hey, if you have an open second, can you drop us a Google review? Can you drop us a good line on Facebook? It's essential, especially for customers that are now in their 20s and 30s who are going to be our customers. That's the first thing they look for. They don't look through your rental catalog. They basically want to see how many reviews you have and if you've got a good standing.
Yep.
And getting a good organic review is even better than the golden egg itself, because typically a customer will go into detail about what service you had and how the employee that helped them or the coworker of mine that helped them by name. It's critical. It is absolutely critical.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, excuse me, talk to me a little bit about like that journey of like, we talk a lot about Google reviews and the value
Yep.
of how important they are. And I don't want to butcher this statistic, but I think something like 70% of consumers check Google reviews first before like making a decision about a local business. That number is mind blowing, but sometimes it can, just kind of go in one ear out the other. What was that process for you guys getting to that point of like, this is something we have to follow up that handshake with saying, if you have a sec, can you leave us a review online? And kind of getting all of your employees there too.
You're absolutely right. And with that being, we've got a younger group of guys and women that work here. And that's the first thing, if they go out to eat, that's the first thing they throw out the phone and they look at the reviews. And it caught on. I mean, yeah, we're a small business. We employ 20 people, but it's even more important at that point to drive good reviews and ask for good reviews.
Yeah.
And we had a business, a marketing firm reach out, Leverage to Grow, and they're out of Lansing. And Steve Rogers, great guy. He just kind of said, hey, we've got an opportunity to help you substantially. And we went that route, and it paid off huge for us.
Awesome. That's great. That's really great. Obviously getting a good review is awesome. And you guys do have so many, and it looks like you consistently get them every month, which is awesome. What about bad reviews? Because I feel like sometimes that is what makes people feel a little nervous to take reviews seriously, is because they might have some bad ones in there. As a human business, I'm sure it has happened at some point. How do you guys kind of handle those at this point?
You have to respond to the customer. And I mean, hopefully you try to engage with that customer before they put a bad review on your website.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of get a general sense, especially being with an equipment customer. You can tell them that obviously you can see they didn't get their job done.
Mm-hmm.
They're not happy about the situation. And you try to just make sure, hey, let them know that we're here to get your job done. How can we get your job done? That type of thing. And that doesn't always work. And it's always unfortunate to see the bad reviews come in, especially when you typically on our end, we feel like we do as much as possible to not get that review. But then when you get the review, you try to reach out to the customer after the fact and see if they'll take it off.
Yeah.
But at that point, it's usually too late.
Yeah. Yeah. I know the best advice, I always try to give is you have to visualize reviews at this point as if someone is standing at your counter talking to you. You wouldn't ignore someone standing there, probably yelling, maybe saying a swear word or two, in person, and you can't, do it online either. You have to respond, to every, I mean, I think it's great to respond to every review, but certainly the negative ones do make such a difference.
And that's been very nice. That new media retailer, Catherine, has also made that a priority. Like, you guys need to respond to these reviews.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad she's pestering.
And I mean, it would be sweet. Honestly, it'd be awesome just to be like, okay, check out this email, transaction that we had that, this is what we were going to do for you. And this is how you responded. And, throw that up on there and, prove the customer wrong. But you can't do that.
Yeah, I know. In a perfect world though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. 1 second. Sorry about that.
No, you're totally fine. At this point, what would you say is one of the biggest challenges you guys are facing now?
I would say fuel costs, of course, and labor. I mean, that probably is across the board. Right now, from last year to this year, our labor, now again, we're not a big store, 20 employees, but when we're down 20%, which is about 2 to 3 employees from last year, it's big. It's very big. And we don't have a lot of people knocking on the door to work. So with the fuel costs, obviously all of our delivery charges went up. It just, pass it down onto the consumer, which isn't something we really like to do, but delivering equipment in large vehicles adds up.
Yeah, absolutely. It does. How have you gone about communicating that at this point? Is it something you guys have addressed, or you just have done price increases and have answered questions as they've come in?
Yes, price increases and answered questions. I mean, at this point, so everybody's being struck by the supply chain as well. I mean, as far as getting parts for Husqvarna, things like that, waiting for tents and equipment to finally show up after you order it. I mean, we just ordered a Kubota tractor, and I think they told Tice it's 18 months until that shows up on site.
Oh my
But
gosh.
again, and just relaying that to the customer or our customers, a
Yeah.
lot of people are now open to that, and you're like, we
Yeah.
understand the issue, we'll wait, that type of thing.
Yeah. I do feel like, I mean, hearing 18 months is a surprising thing to hear, but I do feel like half the battle is in setting realistic timeframes. So often people are like, oh, 4 to 6 weeks. And then 4 to 6 weeks later, it's another 4 to 6 weeks. And that I feel like creates a lot of friction between a small business talking to their customer and putting the small business in a really tough spot.
Yep.
And I think that that's so important, like setting actual realistic time frames of, when you can expect the product, because that makes such a difference. Like if someone gets started with 30% of their project, thinking, that the rest of the equipment's going to be here or available for them to use it
And it's
before the
just,
summer is over. Yeah, I mean,
it's
that makes a
just
huge
not.
difference for them.
Yes. And, going back to the labor, where we're short people. You had mentioned deadlines and getting projects done. Well, with large events and outdoor wedding receptions, deadlines are huge.
Mhm.
So we have really tried to pay close attention to certain, I mean, hot weeks and areas in our schedule that we can look ahead on our computers at our point of sale system and look where, hey, we've got this many events, this many deliveries, this many pickups. We got to unfortunately tell customers we're full. And we haven't really had to do that a lot, but we really are trying to get a good feel for what we can and cannot do to make sure we've got the labor there to get the event together the way we like it done. You have to be a deadline freak and
Yeah.
hit
Yeah.
them all.
Yeah.
Okay. Or, we're back to the Google review thing. You don't show up for an event and set it up. Well, have fun with that one.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, what point of sale system do you guys use?
We use it's called Pointer Rental. It's a software
Okay.
company out of Fort Worth, Texas.
Yep.
I think we transitioned over to them 7 years ago. Really phenomenal service, great
Awesome.
software
Awesome.
compared to the old system that we had that I don't even know what it was called. It was dated, but put the money into it and got a great system.
Yeah. Point of sale systems are definitely, I mean, 7 years ago is obviously pre-pandemic, but during the pandemic, a lot of conversations we've been having with both retail and rental stores. And that I feel like that is an investment while people, and especially initially during the pandemic, had a little bit of downtime to sort of look at technology services that existed out
Yep.
there and make some decisions. So that's really good feedback. That's good to hear. And I know something a lot of other rental stores will appreciate the insight on, because you're right. I mean, that project planning in and of itself, making sure that events are executed up to
Exactly.
your guys' standards, is probably a totally new challenge, for you guys to make sure that the labor, can be covered. Yeah, it definitely is a different world for
Yes.
sure. Are you still seeing a lot of like first time homeowners renting and stuff like that? Or do you feel like that's kind of subsided a little bit?
We see it a lot. And what's nice is that when a customer comes in with our new point of sale system, well, not new, it's 7 years old, but they'll give us their phone number, name, and to rent anything, you do need a driver's license. So we'll be able to see if the customer has rented from us in the past
Okay.
7 years. And with that, we typically, if they're a new customer, we always like to ask them for their email address, which is kind of standard these days.
Yeah.
So that we can email them their contract, email them their final receipt, but then also hitting back to your reviews, we do collect those and then send those to our partner who does our Google reviews, Facebook reviews, send them like a 2-week snippet of the new emails we collected. They
Okay.
filter that and then send out for feedback.
Oh, cool. Okay. That's awesome.
So that's very minimal for us, which is good. And I know it could be lazy, but I mean, from, April through October, Tyson and I, and all of us, generally speaking, are slammed, helping customers,
Right.
answering phones, you know, getting logistics figured out for deliveries and pickups, that type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
one less thing to worry about is a blessing.
exactly. And it's worked out great. I mean, that portion of the new point of sale area is awesome, where you can extract email, send it to somebody, and they'll filter them and then take care of the review from there. We've seen really, really like the results.
Awesome. That's great. Now, obviously, if I had asked you this question 2 years ago, your answer would be very different. So who knows what the world could possibly look like in 5 years. But what are you kind of expecting the future to hold at this point? Maybe 5 years out, or maybe even 1 year out at this point?
I'm always optimistic. So I think, you're always shooting for always continued growth. But we're also a realist, whereas the fact that I don't know, since we've been up so much the last 2 years, it's really hard to sustain that growth.
Yeah.
Because we know that because we've been around for 4 years.
Right.
But just, I would say what we all need to continue to do is just really have great customer service, have good people skills, where you still need to have conversations with people and engage in them. And then at that point, hopefully that you made a great impression on a customer and you got a lifetime customer. As far as a trend for 5 years, I would, love to say we would, grow another 30%. But that's the optimist in me.
But isn't it amazing? I mean, going back to like the customer service part of your response, which I feel like is such a perfect note for us to kind of end on. But I feel like that response would hold true going through the Great Depression, going through the recession that we had in the early 2000s,
Yep.
to going through a pandemic. Like, that is one factor that just continues to hold true, especially for small businesses. Like, that is where you can shine, especially against big box stores.
Yep.
So it's just
even in the day and age where everybody, our new customer base would just like to order things on their smartphone, just having a good conversation with a customer, letting them know how to use the equipment to get their job done properly. It's what we're in the business for.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, I feel like that's such a good end note. James, thank you so much for joining. This was such a good conversation, and definitely one I know a lot of stores will benefit from hearing from. So I wish you guys a super busy summer and
Right?
one
Yeah, thank you.
one that you can sustain.
Yep.
Thank
Thank you
you
very
so
much
much.
for the opportunity.
Yeah,
And
thank you so
hey,
much.
good luck with that snow or that leaf blower with your husband.
Oh, God,
But I'm pretty
thank
sure
you.
that thing's toast.
Great. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Yep. Have a great week. Have a great holiday weekend.
You as well. Thank you so
All right.
much.
Bye.
Bye.